KC Laboratory. Sponsored by Emprise Bank.
It's the KC Laboratory Live Edition presented by Emprise Bank. Emprise was recently named the best small business or best small bank in Kansas by Newsweek. Remember, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, unless, of course, you're Orlando Brown. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in possible. And there's a lot possible for this football team right now, the Kansas City Chiefs, sitting atop the AFC, not just the AFC West with their shirt and their hat game yesterday, but the AFC. And here to help me talk about that team are my dear pals. First, find him on Twitter at Chief in Carolina, Matthew Lane. Hello, my friend. What is good with you, friend, and member of the fan base of the AFC West champions?
Okay. Everything is good. The intro, it went somewhere. However, I do want to ask you guys, your guys' opinion. How do we feel about the Chiefs' AFC West gear this year? Rated on a scale from 1 to 15.
Listen, anytime the Chiefs get any sort of championship gear, it's a 15. I don't care what it looks like.
Okay,
it says champs
give me a real
on
answer.
I think this is some of the best stuff we've seen to this point. Personally, I give it a strong. I'm going to give it a Byron Pringle. I'm going to give it a 13 because I really like the cleanliness of the attire personally.
Tucker and I were talking before we started, and we were kind of on the same page. We really like the AFC West Champions one. That looks really nice and really clean. The running the West one, we run the West, or they've done that. They've been there, done that. You can't keep reusing it. You got to come up with something new. So that's where I have to dock a lot of points. Like we're giving this a solid. We're giving this like a solid 11 on a scale of 15. Like I think it could be better. So like next year when they win the West again, I expect better. I don't want another running the West shirt. Let's get something new in there. Chiefs wardrobe design team. Craig, how are you?
Wow, strong takes. I'm doing great. I am now looking at the AFC West Champions gear for the first time. I've been very busy, so I did not expect that. Yeah, solid 11. I'll give it a solid 11. It's all right. Yeah, it's going to be better when it says Super Bowl on it, obviously. That's a 15. But anyway, it's been a good day. Yeah, got to meet up with a member of the KCSN community today for lunch and some beverages. So it's always a good time when I get to hang out with some of the KCSN folks out there. So it's a good time, and I'm ready to talk Chiefs with my two pals here.
Real quick, it is not the Chiefs' fault. Or maybe it's not the NFL's fault that the Chiefs continue to just win the AFC. Because I'm sure the Chargers would absolutely gobble up a Chiefs run the West t-shirt. The problem is the Chiefs just keep winning this division. They've won it 6 straight years. I did some research today. Craig, okay, so if you have to go all the way back to 1971 to find the 6th most recent AFC West championship for the Chiefs before this 6-game for the 6-season streak that we're experiencing right now. So they won 6 straight here. The 6th most recent before this stretch was December 12th of 1971 was the last time they clinched this. Craig was 12 when that happened. I mean, just astounding.
I got younger?
Statistic. Yeah, I guess, it kind of goes all over the place.
It fluctuates whatever your joke lands. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, like there's sometimes you're like a Civil War veteran.
And I'm aware.
Yeah. And you feel like it some days too, am I right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a remarkable feat, what we've seen. And I don't know, we really shouldn't take this for granted. If you think about the context in the history of this organization, you look back and, I mean, that's how far back the 6th most recent title was before this just remarkable stretch that has spanned 2 quarterbacks, one that brought them to relevancy and then one that made them the best team in the juggernaut. And I think I kind of want to start there. I want to start with Patrick Lavon Mahomes because it's been interesting, this season. It's been, there's been some adversity that we've seen him have to push through, some learning curve that really hasn't been there. I mean, the man has just figured things out so seamlessly, so effortlessly, been able to mask times where, maybe he got from time to time. He's been able to fight some of the urgencies that he might feel with regards, like some impatience and stuff like that. But this year kind of felt like, there's been some moments, there's some more low points than we're accustomed to seeing, but it feels like that's all in the rear view mirror, Maddie.
We can hope so. It's the last, 5 quarters, because he didn't really play much the fourth quarter in this game. The last game plus the quarter against the Chargers have been excellent. And a lot of what you're seeing has been more vintage Patrick Mahomes. It's been a lot more. There's been a lot of creativity. There's been a lot of plays coming outside of structure, a lot of wild throws that are just going to be all over ESPN over and over and over again. But then when you go back and watch it, especially this game, from start to finish, this game against the Steelers was kind of boring. Like, everyone's going to point to the Byron Pringle touchdown. They're going to point to some of those throws that Josh Gordon just couldn't quite bring in. But for the most part, it was a kind of boring performance because so many things were happening on time. He was in command of the offense. He was getting the ball out to the flat to the running backs when his first, second read, wherever he was trying to go, was taken away. When there was a couple times where he had to work from one side of the field back to the other, but he did so quickly and calmly, and then found a guy that was open on the backside of the progression. And it just looked so nonchalant that it was almost a to watch. And it doesn't help that, some of those super crazy throws weren't brought in. So, therefore, you can't put them necessarily on the highlight reel, even though, they hit a receiver in the hands. They're still there. But it's just most of the plays. This wasn't like the Chargers. The ending of that Chargers game, it was out of structure, crazy play, him scrambling around and slinging the ball, which is great. We needed that. He needed that. I think every Chiefs fan sighed in relief when they saw that and it was working, because we had not seen that in a sustained period at all this year. That he has not done that for that many throws at any point in time this year. And then to follow that up with a game that was so much in rhythm, so much of just playing on time without your game-breaking kind of guy in Travis Kelce. I don't know if Tyreek Hill was just being rested because he was being double-teamed and they just weren't using him much, or if he wasn't feeling 100% coming off of the COVID list or whatever, because he did not get much run from the Chiefs offense we're trying to do. So Patrick Mahomes did that without his two best weapons. Without the two best guys.
His 2 targets, 2 catches, both came in the opening drive of that game.
Yeah.
That was it. After that, he did not have a target the rest of the game.
The Steelers took him away, so credit them for that. They were trying to, but I also don't know if he was at 100%. So just seeing him play that way without the 2 guys that he has the most trust in, without having the 2 guys that he relies upon, it's great. That's great to see from a Chiefs fan perspective. And at this point in time, as much as the Chiefs defense should be the story up until this point, I think it's time. You almost have to pass it over to Patrick Mahomes now, Craig. You were almost out of the limelight. Listen, the defense is great. The defense is outstanding. But when Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, nothing is stealing the thunder.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't beat it when Patrick Mahomes is playing like that. And you're spot on. You got to see the out of structure stuff that was great. You get to see the in-structure stuff that should terrify absolutely every defensive coordinator in the league. Watching him sit back and operate in the pocket, getting through his progressions quickly, getting to the right guy, and putting it on them in ways where they can create yards after the catch as well. That is terrifying. I said it on the post-game show last night, but I'll say it here again. The Steelers tried what other teams have tried to do to take stuff away. And they took away Tyreek Hill deep. They took away a lot of the deep stuff. And that's fine because the Chiefs were able to still methodically move the ball. They were still able to do what they needed to do against the pass rush. And I get TJ Watt was limited with some of this rib injury, but against the pass rush with TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Cameron Hayward, pinning their ears back, trying to beat up on this offensive line. And by and large, they couldn't. So it wasn't just that Patrick Mahomes was playing in structure. It was that he had time behind that offensive line. It looked terrific. And that, credit to Andrew Wiley once again. We are deep into this year with him playing right tackle, and he and the offense and the way that it's structured to help him out as well are giving Patrick Mahomes enough time to do some of this stuff within structure, as well as make some of these crazy throws. I mean, I haven't seen anybody talk about the throw that he made early on in the game to Pringle that was an absolutely awesome throw over the middle of the field. Pringle dropped it. I believe maybe the receiver or the defender got his hand in there a little bit as well. I don't know if it was a full drop or whatever, but an absolutely outrageous throw by Mahomes there. It was still an in-structure throw. Throwing a guy open, wasn't having to get on the run. It felt in rhythm. It felt right. It felt normal. It felt like the offense that we all expect every time we turn on a Patrick Mahomes performance. So that's great. And that should terrify every defense coming up in January, in February, when they get there as well. This should be the scary thing that teams go back and look at.
I think about the throw to McCole, I believe, was also in structure where he kind of dropped his arm angle a little bit and threw with some touch to lead him out ahead in a tight window on an under route. I mean, those kind of little plays are just, I mean, it's special. And I mean, like, I think I might have mentioned this on the post-game show. I'm not sure. Thoughts run together all the time. But I just remember, like, I think yesterday was just a reminder of the ceiling that is possessed by this team, by this offense that, they made us forget for a while. They did that without their two best players largely. And I know Tyreek Hill definitely got some attention and all that stuff. But at the same time, what we saw was just special. And it was on time. It was complete command. But it's like there's a difference between playing with command and playing with freedom. And I think we saw more freedom than command from him because there was the confidence and everything going on. I'm looking at here. He had one pass above 25 yards. One completion, above 25 yards for the entirety of the day. And everything else was just
to Derek Gore. On the wheel route that he threw out of structure. Yeah,
out of structure. Yep. But the next longest pass was 22 yards to Byron Pringle. So we're looking at 2, maybe 3 passes above 20 yards, depending on if Byron Pringle cut another one above 20. But that freedom and command where the ball's out of his hands on time, the ball's where it needs to be, but also having the instincts kind of kick in the way we've kind of become accustomed to with like the circles in the pocket and some of the rolling out and kind of like it looks funky sometimes, but the truth is like that was the right instinctual decision to make to navigate that situation. So just so encouraged to see that kind of freedom he's playing with. And it started back in the Chargers game. There's been moments here and there where you thought that's the moment that he kind of snaps out of it. It seems like the guy that we've all expected, the guy that we roll into every game with irrational confidence in. The reason that KC has puffed their chests out the last 3 years, it's back. And I am just going to be completely unwavering in my belief of what we're going to see for the rest of the year from him and from the offense. Maddie, is there anything on the offensive side of the football outside of just Patrick Mahomes that you really wanted to hit on?
I think we got to stick with Patrick Mahomes for just a little bit longer here. This was something that was
I'm fine with that
on the post game, but he did all that without getting like excessive help. I don't want to say the rest of the offense didn't help him out because they did, and that's where we're going next. But you think back, like what was the play that a skill guy made that, sets it over the top? The Josh Gordon did not come away with some of those 50-50 throws. There was no Tyreek Hill just completely beating somebody downfield and being wide open. You didn't have Travis Kelce doing Travis Kelce things. Like it was essentially just guys doing their job well, but nobody was going above and beyond. So like if you're looking at it as a Chiefs fan and wondering, where this gets even better, imagine Josh Gordon coming away with one of those two kind of really tough catches that he almost brought in. Imagine if there wasn't a free rusher that stopped that other deep pass where he was wide open working on the corner route to the left and Patrick Mahomes had to throw it out of bounds. Imagine Tyreek Hill running that deep over outside of McCole Hardman and not getting redirected by that soft contact, or at least all these little things. Like if somebody went out and made a play, this looks even better. Like if any of those plays turned around the other way, it looks even better. So there's still room for improvement. And that was the thing with the Chiefs in 2018, 2019, even last year, 2020. No, it was, you could always put your finger on specific spots and say there's room for improvement there despite it looking really good. That was finally back. Like it wasn't just room for improvement now. It looked really good and there was room for improvement. It's like that's where I think you got to start looking ahead. But help. Who else? Byron Pringle, man. Byron Pringle had himself a game. He had that drop early on, and Minka Fitzpatrick, I believe it was, did kind of knock it out, but he should have caught it. But man, he had himself a game, and it was how they used him. we all I think everybody going to the game was wondering how you're going to replace Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. Blake Bell, yes, they did a little bit of it. Byron Pringle got a lot of those tight split slot routes reps that Travis Kelce usually gets. He was getting a lot of those routes over other guys, and he made the most out of it. He looked really good out there in that kind of power slot role that you've seen Travis Kelce play this year. I do think they kind of foresee him playing in that area. He's been mostly a slot receiver this year, despite having the best prototype to play on the outside. So I think his role is becoming more clear, and it was nice to see with an uptick in volume, he still was able to cash in.
Yeah, and I think you saw it was even after that drop breakup, whatever it was. It was Patrick Mahomes went back to him a little bit later, and the ball was a little bit behind him, had to go back behind him. You saw him get up and show, Patrick Mahomes, keep feeding me the ball. I'm going to catch it. I'm going to keep bringing it in. And Mahomes did. He trusted him. And he was the go-to guy for a lot of the day. Like, yeah, we spent all this time talking about who's going to step up. And when they got Tyreek Hill back, it was, oh, okay. Well, at least Mahomes can rely on that guy. And he didn't. He relied on the ancillary weapons, these other guys that haven't been the big target monsters. And I'll even throw a guy like Darrell Williams in there with that. He has been a target monster for parts of these seasons. I really like seeing these guys step up. It makes you feel better because early on in the season, it was Travis Kelce goes out, Tyreek Hill goes out. What happens to the offense? It's just going to go stagnant. This team can't do anything. And especially against a good pass rush, you needed everybody to be on the same page, be in structure, be in time, and it was like you wouldn't have been able to convince me if I didn't know anything about the players on this team, targets, anything like that they were missing guys, because it just seemed smooth throughout the day. It seemed ridiculously smooth. Everybody kind of seemed more or less in time. Yeah, there's a couple plays here and there that the offense could have made, that the receivers could have made, but Mahomes goes 23 for 30 for 8.6 yards per attempt and 3 touchdowns in a comfortable walk-away victory. I mean, come on. Like, it's hard to expect more than that. So it was really, really awesome to see a guy like Byron Pringle, guy that we've wanted to step up. We all want him to be that guy and really show that he is that guy late in December.
I don't know if there's a coincidence. I don't know if it's a coincidence that a game that it seemed like Patrick Mahomes was playing with complete command, freedom, confidence, that Byron Pringle also seems to have the game that he looks to be playing with freedom and confidence. Like, there seemed to be a little bit more instinctual, reactions to Byron Pringle. I think about, that ability to bounce off 2 guys in the middle of the field where he kind of ducked and prepared for contact. That contact slipped off him, and then he was able to run through. Those are some of the things that we really haven't seen a lot of Byron Pringle. I remember last year, I can't remember what game. I think it was the Bills game that Byron Pringle had. Yeah, it was the Bills playoff game. Yeah, everyone. Yes. And Byron Pringle had, he kind of looked like a chicken with his head cut off a couple times, where he caught the ball, ran the opposite direction of where he needed the space down the sideline. He decided to try to run the ball into the middle of the field. It's kind of like Demarcus Robinson running 3 yards in front of the sticks after catching the ball. It just some, just tentativeness, a little bit of thinking too much. Boy, Mahomes played with freedom, and I think everybody else on that offense played with some freedom. There was just an air of calmness, confidence to that team, to that group, to that unit that you don't expect to see, especially with the absence of Kelce, with Tyreek Hill not being able to do much. And seeing Byron Pringle kind of carry himself with some championship swagger that's such a positive. Like, I think I might have said it on the post-game show. I don't remember. But I wonder if this is a big moment for all those secondary weapons too. Like, I wonder if we look back after the Chiefs, I wonder if we look back after the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year and we say that game was big for all the other guys outside of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce who stepped up, who were able to find some confidence, who were able to find themselves a little bit. And that gave them confidence to start making some plays down the stretch, play with more consistency down the stretch. That could be the moment. This could be the game that we kind of see that happening, because it felt different across the board. Am I wrong, Maddie? Is this narrative just out of left field? Like, what? Like, tell me, shoot some holes in it. You're good at this. Tell me.
Okay. I don't know if anybody besides Byron Pringle stepped up a ton. I think everybody else kind of filled their similar role that they always had. It was more of the same. You're manufacturing short little touches from McCole Hardman. You're unable to get stuff going downfield. Josh Gordon looks like he's just a beat off of where he was in his prime,
That's
and
fair.
things just aren't connecting. Noah Gray, Blake Bell both had some good moments, but they were moments. It wasn't consistent throughout the game. It still kind of felt to me like the only guy that was consistently showing up, drive in and drive out was Byron Pringle. But I think that's fine. I think that's all you needed was that third guy. I don't think you don't need everybody to be great. Getting a good McCole Hardman game, I do think helps. It's been a while. Like he'd been getting phased out of the rotation for a while. So having this being, a big game, and it still wasn't that big, but having this be a game where he's involved again, where he's out there making plays, where he's providing, I do think that can help his confidence a lot. That can help him play more confidently as the year goes on. Getting Noah Gray reps is going to help. I think the big one, though, for me, the only other place I want to go, the running back room. Like, where are we at with Clyde Edwards-Helaire's injury? Like, how do we feel? Do we think losing Clyde Edwards-Helaire matters? Do you think the team loses something, gains something? Where are you at with this, Craig?
Oh man, that's a tough question right now, because it's less about Clyde, who appears to be in the clear. They said it's swelling. There's not a broken collarbone. It looks like he will return, which is good, because I think when the collarbone happened and he was ruled out, everybody just kind of held their breath a little bit and went, "Oh, that might have been it." So it's gonna be good to get him back when he does come back. But Darrell Williams is, my goodness, he playing the best ball of his career right now. And then you got Derek Gore, who's got some juice and some explosiveness and decisiveness when hitting the hole. And he's got some pass catching ability as well. So they're actually fairly well insulated for what they like to do. Again, I want to see Clyde more in the passing game still, and will continue to beat that drum over and over, because I saw what he did at LSU, and it baffles me that they don't do it here. But that's beside the point. What the Chiefs do with their running backs right now, it appears that they will be able to cover for that. Now, that being said, Clyde's touchdown, my goodness, low man wins, bouncing off dudes and
He's low.
getting into the end zone. He's low. That was good. I do want to take it back just a second here. While we're talking about all these secondary weapons, this was arguably the best game of the season for multiple of the secondary weapons. Best game of the season for Byron Pringle, unquestionably.
Yeah.
You could argue this is the best game of the season for Derek Gore.
He played some snaps that mattered. So
he played some snaps that mattered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the best game of the season for McCole Hardman as well. Like his touchdown, that's a good start to get himself in the end zone. Like, you saw glimpses of these guys putting it together, and they put it together all at once. So even though it wasn't like a massive impact for these guys, and that goes back to the running back room as well, even though it was kind of spread out over several guys and there wasn't individuals that stepped up, it seemed like everybody's game was just kind of up
elevated
another notch, and kind of making up for the fact that Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill weren't as much of a factor in the overall outcome.
I'll add this with regard to Clyde, because I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the show. We talked about we were talking about this in the DMs today. I'm writing a little bit about it in the KCSN Substack. Yes, Darrell Williams, Derek Gore, they have their pass catching abilities. I feel like Derek Gore is more of a Darrell Williams in the passing game, capable of operating some of the basic functions. But it did seem like they were starting to build up Clyde a little bit in his usage out of the backfield, his usage in the passing game, because one of the things that they've done a couple times here the last few weeks is they motion, they'll set up an empty and Clyde will be out and empty. They'll motion him like they're going into the backfield, which they do all the time. But now they're kind of running this little stack motion at the with the receiver in the slot. The running back pops in behind them, and they're running a lot of like smash concepts out of it. Clyde's running a quick out of that, and they're running a corner, high low in a corner or whatever. So, I think you're not tricking anybody with Darrell Williams on that. And so that's one thing I do think about is, I think they might have been starting to build towards some more Clyde passing game stuff, and now it could be another week where we, don't get a chance for them to build on that a little bit more.
But the
I will say this.
Oh,
yeah, we did this last year with Clyde too.
Every year.
And I mean,
Every game.
It's been injuries at the end of the year. It's not like he's not executing. It's been injuries now at the end of the year. So I hope that they're going to get him back and be able to integrate those concepts. Go ahead.
The question is just like, but how much do you miss that if you're the Chiefs? Like right now, I think we're talking about them maybe building to it being something, but does it matter that you're missing it right now? Because I would argue that while Clyde Edwards-Helaire might be a more talented receiver, Darrell Williams has been a better receiver for the Chiefs. Darrell Williams, to me, doesn't do a lot exceptionally well. Like, he's not elite at anything, but the one thing I will say he's elite at is gathering the football on a pass and turning upfield in one motion. He does that better than just about anybody. I mean, Travis Kelce's going to be like the best, the GOAT at this forever. But Darrell Williams might be right there behind him. His ability to adjust on these little swing routes, turn and be upfield instantly is phenomenal. And you see how many times he catches these quick passes in the flat and turn upfield and go pick up positive yard. Clyde doesn't even get those opportunities. He's not out there. So whether it's not knowing when he's shooting out to the flat versus when he's picking up a blitzer, I don't know what the gap there is, but Darrell Williams is a lot more involved in the quick relief throws to the flat than Clyde's ever been. I agree Clyde's a better receiver, but I just don't know if the Chiefs are missing him in the passing game. Then the rushing game, I just want to add, he had the lowest yards per carry out of any Chiefs running back. I mean, it was lower than Gore. It was lower than Darrell Williams. Now, he also ran seven zone runs according to Pro Football Focus. The other guys had a very even split of gap and zone, and we all know the Chiefs are better at gap schemes. It's just I don't know how much the Chiefs miss Clyde. Watching him, my eyes tell me he's the best running back on the team, bar none. Like, it's not even close watching him move and watching Williams and Gore move. He's a better mover, a better football player. But the usage, the production on the it keeps coming back saying Gore and Darrell Williams can do just as much, if not more, in this situation right now. So it's just, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to miss him, despite me thinking he's the better player.
Now, before we move off of the offense real quick here, I do want to point out Darrell Williams has twice the targets that Clyde Edwards has. Twice. Now, Clyde has missed 5 games that Darrell Williams has gotten to play in, but twice the targets. That's a lot. That doesn't make up for it. So the Chiefs obviously feel that way about using him in the pass game as well.
All right, let's talk about the defense. I think, we got a lot of time here unpacking the offense, and my God, that defense was dominant too. I mean, and it's just like what we've come to expect, but like that was just a complete I think you used the word overwhelming, Craig. Like, I think that's the word you used it's so appropriate because they just completely overwhelmed that Steelers offense. It was a complete joy to watch. It was a dominant performance, every level of the defense.
Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo put Matt Canada in the Steiner recliner for 4 quarters, man. Like, this was, my goodness, it was a perfect matchup for what Steve Spagnuolo wants to do, the types of players that he has, and the execution. It just all kind of melded into this thing where the Steelers, while the starters were in, threw for 3.6 yards per attempt. 3.6 yards through the air. They were actually a slight bit more efficient running the ball than throwing it, which, I mean, we make that joke all the time about Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers offense, but to see it actually come to fruition, because it doesn't always, to see it come to fruition speaks volumes about what the Chiefs were able to do. Now, that's not because the Chiefs were really gaining a ton of pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, because he didn't hold the ball. He threw it in 2.4 seconds on average against this Chiefs defense, which is the longest that he's held the ball in 4 weeks, but still the league lowest time to throw. The Chiefs weren't able to blitz because of that, because you're leaving somebody open. They weren't able to get home with 4 because of that. So they were relying on their secondary to step up and do the job, and they did. And then in the run game, they won on early downs with their linebackers playing really well. Willie Gay took a lot of throwing lanes away as well. This was just an overall excellent performance by the defense, a suffocating performance by the defense. You didn't feel like the Steelers were going to move the ball at any point while this was even remotely a game. Like, you just kind of knew that when Ben Roethlisberger was going to take the field, it was maybe going to be a first down. It was more than likely going to be a 3 and out, and the Chiefs are going to get the ball back and go down and score, or it was going to be a turnover. And it was until the 4th quarter. So it was awesome to watch. It was really good to see them put a bad team in their place, and they were able to do it with everybody on defense. It wasn't just a singular person, everybody on defense doing their job.
I mean, you know who else knew the Steelers weren't going to be able to move the ball? Matt Canada and the Steelers, because their very second drive, the first play was a shot play they called up. But instead of going play action and letting Ben Roethlisberger turn his back, they didn't do that. I mean, one, he can't do it. He can't move. But instead of even letting call a real play action pass, they called a flea flicker. So he could see everybody coming the entire time, and he still threw up a YOLO ball that got intercepted. They knew after the first drive they had no chance, and they were going to have to manufacture some random offense. They needed to take a shot play to pick up chunk yards, and they had to go to a flea flicker immediately. The Matt Canada experience for the Steelers has been terrible. Like, it's not working. Ben Roethlisberger is not playing good. He can't throw. He can't move. But Matt Canada's been just as bad. They have nothing to provide a defense to like push back at all. They have their very one trick. It was this. The only thing that they did well offensively was get one broken Najee Harris run off the right side there. And like outside of that, like, and the Chase Claypool great catches, like that was it though. Like, it's stuff that you can't repeat, and that's been their offense all year. And then you just get this Chiefs buzzsaw of a defense right now where everything's clicking. You got Charvarius Ward. I mean, he's been really good this year, but we've made jokes about this for years. His ball skills, his ability to play the football throughout his career have been bad. There's no way to sugarcoat. There's no reason to not say he's been very bad at playing the football. He comes up with a one-handed interception in this game. Like,
it was like a high point, and then the presence of mind to like one hand the way down just to keep it away from the receiver.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah.
Excellent.
It was. And like, I could defend it and say like, oh, well, because he didn't have to, it wasn't behind him. He didn't have to track it over his shoulder, but he's done that this year. Like, I'm saying he's done that this year, but like the fact that that's turned around this year. L'Jarius Sneed got targeted like 800 times. And I do think in the second half, they found a way to get some success on some speed outs, making him work through traffic. Like, I don't care about the final numbers. The beginning of that game, he was destroying everything that they did that first half, whether it was screens, runs to his side. He had the pass breakup on third down. Watching him crash into a tight end and offensive lineman so Melvin Ingram could stunt around him and go corral that fourth down run was amazing. Like, everybody's playing so well. And then the Steelers offense, who literally can't do anything, comes into town and they do nothing, and they know it from the get-go. The Chiefs defense knows it. They're trotting out the heavy rotation. Like, by the third defensive series, they are deep into this roster. It's like, it was fun, but it goes back to the Patrick Mahomes thing. It was relatively boring because this wasn't the most exotic Steve Spagnuolo game you're going to get. It wasn't like he was throwing blitzes out there left and right. The pass rush wasn't winning fast enough because Ben was getting rid of the ball super quick. Like, nothing was overly exciting. It was just consistent domination from start to finish from this defense, and it's like it's almost come to expect at this point in time from this unit.
Yeah, like they're normalizing exceptional football, which I can't believe that's where we're at this year. Like, it's still a little bit stunning. I will say some of the most fun things I saw last week or against the Steelers yesterday was like the edge plays, the edge runs that the Steelers try to live on, especially with the passing game. But like trying to run on the edge was hilarious. Like, you talk about that Melvin Ingram game. Like, the Chiefs were just the overwhelming nature of just like the speed. The Chiefs' speed was just noticeably different than the Steelers. And they were out there on the edge, just like sniffing stuff out. Like, Najee Harris on that 4th and 1 lost 3 yards. So like, I think like that was just a really fun, like, to see the athleticism. I think we talked about, L'Jarius Sneed, big factor there. Willie Gay, big factor there. Those are two guys with like kind of athleticism pursuit that are able to make some plays at the line of scrimmage. Dare I say, behind the line of scrimmage sometimes. One narrative, though, I want to pull out of this, and I want to talk to you guys about. I'm pretty sure I just jinxed it, and I'm pretty sure this is going to change a little bit against the Bengals because the Bengals are just that good. But like, this team, it does, like, the explosive plays that this team gives up are very minimal, and it has been for this entire stretch that we've seen from this team putting things together on the defensive side of the football. The turnaround. One of the big things with the turnaround, besides turning the ball over, is we really haven't seen them, teams be able to generate a lot of explosive plays on this group. I don't know the last time we saw a 50-yard plus play against the Chiefs in a situation that mattered. Maybe maybe some second team guys. I don't know. Maybe there was a big play against the Chargers in that game, like against
Would you like to know?
I would love to. I would just love to know how many plays over, let's call it 25 yards, we've seen in the last 8 weeks or so. Like, I mean, like if you have that, I mean, like it just doesn't seem like we've seen a lot of explosive plays generated.
Sure. Man, yeah, it's been a while here. The Giants had a 53-yarder, Tennessee had a 46-yarder, but I mean, you gotta scroll a little ways. At Vegas, the Week 10 game, there was a 40-yarder that the Chiefs punched out of Deshaun Jackson's hands. I mean, like, so even when they do that, like, Vegas had another 37-yard TD late in that game. But yeah, it's not been consistent. Probably the biggest one was at the end of the half against Denver. It was a 35-yard pass play. That's probably the most recent one that we've seen here. Chargers hit a big one for 29, a couple weeks ago, but like it's few and far between. I'm scrolling
that's
through
not
here
a
and it's
lot.
all early season. So, yeah.
The fact that we're having to work so hard to find some of these explosive plays is the point. That's not normal. That's rare. That's special. I think that's been one of the big catalysts for this defensive success. I can't, I mean, I don't know, man. I just think narratively that's very fascinating. Bengals could change that very quickly, but
Oh, absolutely.
that's not normal.
Yeah. They
I think after the beginning of the year, Steve Spagnuolo transitioned heavily to two deep safeties. Like they really have. And I think you've seen a little bit of that. The negative side of that is you haven't seen them produce a ton of turnovers, like in terms of interceptions. It's guys not getting as many hands on the balls over the middle of the field as you maybe have seen in the past. Tyrann Mathieu's first year, he had like 4 interceptions and like 4 to 5 more dropped interceptions. And they were like all over the middle of the field. Last year, he had 6. Juan Thornhill was getting in on some of these. This year, it's a little bit lower. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you can see like playing so much too high this year has resulted in a little bit less guys floating around the middle of the field. But you've limited those deep plays. And what you've gotten out of it too is you have cornerbacks that feel more comfortable pressing these receivers, getting physical with receivers, riding them up the boundary, knowing that if this guy beats him inside a little bit, there is going to be help back there. You have these safeties that are topping. So they're essentially playing the defense that everybody's played against them in trying to stop teams from putting up these big explosive plays. And then they're tackling really well out in the open field. Like that's the big one. You're not having guys miss tackles like the Chiefs team, I mean, let's be honest, has frequently in the past. They have not always been a great tackling or swarming to the ball team. That's a little different this year. You set that up with that too high structure that's protecting you a little bit from the explosive plays. And like you're getting that. You're making teams drive all the way down the football field. And then you sprinkle in the athleticism of Willie Gay and L'Jarius Sneed. Then you drop in this defensive line that, these last 2 weeks maybe haven't been as dominant as the stretch before that, but they're healthy again. This 4-man pass rush, if you're just going to sit there and not try to take the short stuff over the middle of the field, they're going to get to the quarterback. So like just all the parts are just kind of married together at this point in time.
Yeah. And I mean, the goal for Steve Spagnuolo is always to keep a lid on things. Like that's what it is. He wants to limit explosive plays. He wants to keep everything underneath, and he wants to drive on everything. We talk about how maybe not having, Tyrann Mathieu in sort of that lurk role or that robber role in the middle of the field as often has not led to a bunch of turnovers for him. But guess what? We're still turning the ball over at a good clip on defense. So, I mean, it has worked out for this defense in a positive way to kind of sit on everything. And this is Steve Spagnuolo once again. We are in year 3 of Spagnuolo showing up, starting the season, having offenses come in and say, okay, well, we know how we're going to attack Spags, and then watching him adapt his game and step up at the end of the year and just fix it. Like, this is unheard of. This year 3 now. They're not just going back to stuff that they did before or trying to have stuff that they, typically do and, mixing in their bread and butter or whatever. This is Steve Spagnuolo adapting his game plan to come in and beat what the opposition is trying to hit him with. And that's phenomenal. I mean, when you have somebody that can come in and play that way and adapt that way, you have a winning formula there. And you guys are going to have to adapt to the fact that you got a Macadoodles coming to Kansas City, the Kansas City area in summer of 2022. You need to get over there. As soon as this thing opens in Lee's Summit, get out there, get your alcohol, have them suggest what you want because they're going to nail it first time, every time. And the selection and pricing is going to be spot on. So we know that everybody's going to flood to that area. But if you're a franchisee and you want to add another one to this area or another area outside the Kansas City area, send an email to Roger at info@macadoodles.com. Get one to your area and get your customer base to adapt to what's best for them.
You talked about, Spagnuolo year 3, and I just remember early in the year when the Chiefs was having their struggles, and we had the conversation here on this show. We said, we're looking at the veterans on this team, and we're saying this is year 3. These are veterans that have been here for 3 years. These kind of mistakes shouldn't be happening. Well, this is what we thought we were getting with a veteran group, a talented group that was going to be here for, that's been here, that's been able to, be a part of Steve Spagnuolo's system, that's been able to listen to Steve Spagnuolo, that they've been through trial by fire. They've been able to, make in-game adjustments and all this stuff. This is the manifestation of what we thought we were getting with a veteran unit. And that's good to see. And it's, maybe, boy, the early season was just, it feels like a long time ago. It was disgusting. It was gross. There were so many things, and this team has been so disjointed for the majority of the season. It's great to finally see them kind of both sides of the football married a lot better. Speaking of married, if you are looking to get engaged anytime soon and you're looking to buy an engagement ring for your significant other, if you don't start at Ruback Fine Jewelry in Kansas City, you're making a massive mistake. Trust me when I say you will be blown away by the experience that you get if you go and talk to Hal. He's the owner at Ruback Fine Jewelry. You go online, you set an appointment with him. You're going to get his full attention. He's going to sit down. He'll talk to you about the process as much as you want. Like he'll tell you a lot. He'll educate you on the ring buying process, the important things you need to know. I mean, and you'll get to see kind of firsthand why. You go to a big box store, you're not going to get the same kind of experience. You're not going to get the same quality ring that you're going to be able to get from Hal, because how Hal has been able to kind of build his business allows him to, pass some savings on to you as the consumer. And, he's going to talk to you. You're going to set a budget with him. And he's not going to try to push you too far beyond that budget. He's not going to push you at all. He's going to stay within what you asked him to stay within. He's going to give you something you're happy with and something your significant other will be happy with too. So go to ruback.co and set an appointment with Hal. You get his undivided attention. It'll be a wonderful experience. Please, if you are looking for a ring, make sure that you're talking to him and not just going to one of these big box stores. All right. I think it's time for helmet stickers, butt slaps, bottles of vodka. Is that okay, Maddie, or do you want to interrupt me really quick?
We wanted to talk about the defensive turnaround here from the beginning of the year. Here's a very arbitrary but fun stat for you. Since in games that Willie Gay has played over 50% of the snaps, the Chiefs have given up over 20 points exactly one time, and that was the Titans game, which was the first game that he played over 50% of the snaps. Now, like I said, it's arbitrary because against Buffalo, played 44%, but still, we're counting it. Willie Gay, the entire reason this Chiefs defense turned it around, doesn't matter about the veterans. Nobody else mattered. It's all about Willie Gay playing over exactly 50% of the snaps, and you won't score more than 20 points against the Chiefs.
Hashtag analytics.
This is like Jonathan Taylor rushing for 100 yards for the Colts and how they're undefeated. So as soon as they hit the 100-yard mark, they stop the game, they end it right there, and award the win to the Colts, right? That's how it goes.
What happens if what happens if the Colts play the Chiefs and Taylor goes over 100 yards on the same play that Willie Gay crosses what's going to be the 50th, the snap count that's going to play 50%? Like, what happens?
You remember in the Batman movies where Bane blows up the stadium? Like, that's what starts to happen. Like, it just starts to all fall apart. Poor Arrowhead.
Yikes. All right, I'm going to give a helmet sticker to the entire offensive line. We went the whole show without talking to him. I don't think it was a perfect performance across the board by any stretch of the word, but I think the short yardage plays were very good up front. I think they did a pretty good job with the run blocking. Good job protecting Patrick Mahomes. It seems like offensive line and quarterback are getting more and more connected week over week. So helmet sticker to the offensive line. Also, Creed is good.
Butt slap to Tershawn Wharton, who looked like he got a big one as he hopped over the line of scrimmage to force the field goal, the Steelers to miss the field goal. And then he also had a really good game on defense. Like that play, which probably should have been a penalty, forced the missed field goal, and it was very fun to watch. Then on the defensive side, he had a lot of pressures. I think he led the Chiefs in pressures this week. Now, a lot of those were kind of coming in garbage time, but still, he had a lot of energy. He was out there. He was playing well. So it was nice to see him just, come out and have a big game. And like I said, I really liked watching him as a not super tall guy leap over all the blockers on the field goal attempt. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, Turk Wharton finally, somebody got to rush the passer because a quarterback held the ball longer than 2.4 seconds.
Yeah, as
and
the
they were going
Steelers
to
made
hurry
that
up.
game last longer. What are you doing?
Come on, man. What is it? Man, get Canada all the way out of here. No, my whole ass
coach,
bottle
not
of
the country.
vodka
That's
is
Matt
actually
King.
my whole ass bottle of vodka is going to two guys here. And it's two guys that I want you to ask yourself as Chiefs fans, when was the last time you were legitimately mad at Dan Sorensen or Ben Neiman for something that they did on the field? Because I guarantee it's been a long time. Yeah, you can find individual plays where you wish they were maybe just a little bit better here and there, but by and large, both of those guys have played really well. Ben Neiman, especially this week. Ben Neiman was a blanket on Najee Harris in the dime. Like he was. And that's a role that we have talked about time and time again as being problematic. So we're highlighting him. When we talk about the defense, do it with Mike and DJ. We're highlighting him stacking and shedding blockers in the run game and playing well on that front. Now all of a sudden we're getting him playing well in coverage as well. Like that's great. And then we know that Dan Sorensen has really upped his game since he moved back into more limited role and is able to be put in the dime where he's at his most successful. So I want to give those two guys had a good game, both of them, not necessarily a wow performance, but I just want to remind people where we were and now where we are. So think about the last time you were mad at those two guys and how that's affected the defensive performance. Just awesome to watch.
And the good news for Ben Neiman is that Dan Sorensen isn't going to touch that bottle of vodka. That's going to do it for the KC Laboratory Live Show.
Why is that, Kent?
Thank you so much for listening, watching, consuming this. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you're watching this, if you haven't already. Please subscribe. Leave a 5-star review anywhere that you consume our podcast. They help. We appreciate you and all your help in making KCSN what it's been in 2021. We are so grateful for you, and we will catch you later.